going on? What's up? What's happening? Just wanted to come through with another little quick one this time around, hopefully. But excuse me, just want to but anyway, as you can tell, just want to discuss the culture of petty, this pettiness culture. Just to give it a little bit of context, obviously, I mean, the pettiness culture grew out of what recently just came out of the sarcasm culture, I guess, which lasted a good little while. Where sarcasm was king. It still is in there. Shoot, I mean, there's a hint of sarcasm, obviously, with the pettiness. Just a hint. But this culture of petty that we live in right now, 2019, it's gotten to the point to where it really does affect people's lives. People don't really give a fuck. The consequences really don't outweigh the actual, action in and of itself and the satisfaction of that action. I guess part of it possibly could just be because, people do feel victimized, part of this victim culture. And I guess if you are victimized and you feel like no one is there to assist or help, then you need to resort to petty behavior in order to, I guess, achieve a desired goal. Now, pettiness ranges in a lot of different areas and it permeates through men and women, actually. I mean, women, obviously, but men, yeah, as well. And obviously, too, what is becoming more and more obvious is the fact that the more petty the man is, the more feminine, like, in that aspect, the more, this guy gets put on, so to speak. Now, once again, everybody has their levels of shit. Everybody does some, ignorant, petty things or deal with petty issues. But once again, these are kings and queens of petty, if that's the only kind of, really king and queen that we might actually have out there. Because a lot of people claim to be kings and queens, but kings and queens don't devolve themselves or even involve themselves in any kind of pettiness because they have so much more to possibly lose from such action. And not saying that humans aren't humans, and even if your status is that of a king or a queen, that you can't have moments of weakness. But when your whole existence is built around pettiness, when your whole enjoyment out of life, when you wake up in the morning, you're not happy that you woke up. You're not happy that you're breathing, that you're in your right mind, have all your facilities, if that's the case, obviously. No, none of that shit is satisfactory, You still actually have some material things which are bullshit in and of itself, but it does help and assist in this thing we call life. And certain devices and certain tools, certain equipment, things are needed. Money is needed. But with all that aside, you know what I mean, if pettiness once again is your means of existence, pettiness and trolls, you know what I mean, men are more trollish, like, you know what I mean, but it's still petty behavior. And obviously, you know, technology aids in that bullshit because you can hide behind a screen. Hell, look at me, I'm hiding behind a screen, but that's more vanity than pettiness. Do need to get my hair cut and all that shit, you know what I mean? At least get a little decent. Shouldn't really give a fuck, which I really don't. But once again, the message is the message. Don't want that to be like the whole point. Like, oh, look at this old raggedy ass nigga on it. No, we good. But back to the point. Pettiness can be funny, which unfortunately and inadvertently, or maybe it is, you know what I mean, on purpose, it is to drive home humor in some cases, you know what I mean? And I get that, and sometimes it's funny, but that's the unfortunate problem I feel, and this is a sidetrack. I personally feel is a problem in the black community is the fact that everybody wants to be a comedian. Not knocking real comedians, not knocking people that make you laugh. That is actually a needed thing. And funny people are just naturally funny, not necessarily petty. You know what I mean? But everybody wants to be funny. Everybody has humor. But see, the whole problem with humor is most people that joke a whole bunch are really just cowards and they can't just tell you how they feel. So they have to make some kind of off-color comment or joke, you know what I mean, in order to convey what they feel, but pass it off as a joke because, with of course, every joke is a hint of truth. And I can't believe that motherfuckers, you know, just kind of, you know, getting to that point of knowing that shit. But I mean, it has always been that point. You know what I mean? And actually, the funnier the joke, the truer it is, actually. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously, if you make a joke and you're like, okay, you tripping on somebody and you be like, yo, you look like fucking the hamburger, or you look like fucking Grimace. You know, if you skinny and you light skin or something, like saying somebody look like Grimace, you might have to like look in their face. You know, like the joke really don't hit because it ain't that true. I mean, it's kind of funny because it's just obscure, maybe, but you know, if you trip and call somebody Grimace, that motherfucker better look like Grimace. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of the whole point of you even bringing up, you know, that reference. You know what I'm saying? So I digress. My whole thing with that is that everybody wants to be funny, nobody wants to be serious. And obviously, you can't be serious all the time. There has to be some sense of humor, but some motherfuckers' lives are just pure hilarious. And I mean that from the sarcasm generation. You know what I mean? I'm from the sarcastic generation. I'll say some sarcastic shit like, yeah, you know, that kind of tone, that kind of, you know, condescending kind of shit. And that shit is, you know, petty in and of itself. And, you know, I try not to pull it out unless it's going to be funny. Once again, trying to be funny, everybody trying to be funny. Or if I'm really trying to drive home a point, you know what I mean? It's just not my whole existence of just trying to be a contrarian and be sarcastic to everything that someone might deem as serious. Because there's a lot of serious shit that goes down, but the pettiness and the jokes and everybody taking things lightly is the reason why the black community, in my opinion, partly is one of the reasons why, you know what I mean, things aren't as great, or from the outside looking in or the inside looking in or looking out, like you can tell that it's, you know what I mean, a little bit different and not in always good ways. You know what I mean? I just did a video about the perfect time to get married. And I mean, the fact that there is even, like I said in the video, discussion about the perfect time to get married and all that. Like, motherfucking cultures that are successful with this shit, marriage wise, They don't abide by that European American standard. You know what I mean? That shit can work, but then you have to really apply your own personal shit to it. You know what I mean? But once again, the simple fact that nobody wants to be serious is the reason why I call this also the culture of petty. And nobody really wants to be serious. And even if you try to be serious, there's always going to be at least a couple motherfuckers out there, whether they be trolls, whether they just be, you know what I mean, clout chasers or whatever the case might be. But they always have to say something off colored or point out the obvious and certain shit. You know what I mean? Like, let's be honest. Like, there was like a, you know what I mean, a funeral for somebody. Let's say the funeral for Aretha Franklin. You know, God bless the day. Like, her funeral didn't, obviously it was a long thing. It was a spectacle in and of itself. So I mean, it almost was a joke in a joke. So I mean, it's hard for motherfuckers to take that serious and, you know, be like, all right, you know, pay your respects and just let it be. Everything, like I said, everything is a joke. Presidential, you know what I mean, fucking elections coming up, the primaries and the debates and shit. Yeah, there's funny moments, but everything is pretty much a joke. It's not really no insightful kind of like commentary or insightful view. Like, oh, did you notice that he didn't mention X, Y, or Z according to this, that, and the third? When, you know, like actual conversations about like real shit. Instead, it's always about like either what the motherfuckers wearing, what they said, a gaff or something, or they mispronounced something, or, you know, like they, especially even on the internet as well. There's a lot of the pettiness is downgraded, even, or I shouldn't even say downgraded, but the pettiness is even shown in like how people correct other people online. Like somebody make a post like on Facebook or something, and they misspell the word there, which is commonly misspelled and misused. You know what I mean? It happens. If you get what the person is trying to say, there's no need to, you know, really draw attention to, you know, that. I mean, it bothers me to a little bit, but that just means that I put myself or hold myself personally to that standard. Not that I hold anybody else to that standard. It's just that, okay, I care about that, yeah, and I notice it, yeah, but I know I wouldn't do that shit. And if I did, I would feel bad. You know what I mean? But motherfuckers take their personal and apply it to everybody and then use pettiness and sarcasm, which go hand in hand, like I said before, to convey a point that don't even need to be really conveyed, or point out something that don't necessarily need to be pointed out, or to make fun of something that necessarily ain't really funny. See, this is what happens when now we have entertainers and athletes and actors and comedians and shit as our so-called quote unquote black leaders. Not saying these brothers and sisters aren't down for the cause or doing righteous things or trying to move things forward. I'm just saying, like, it's a sad state of affairs when, you know what I mean, certain other cultures and races in that aspect can be represented by the best of the best, you know what I mean? They're, you know, so-called in this, you know, once again, European American standard, Western civilization, the standard of, you know what I mean, oh, this is on high esteem, or this is considered, you know what I mean, important. We consider, in my opinion, honestly, some of the wrong things important. Yes, it's great that this dude can score 100 touchdowns a year, or he can, you know, score like 30, 40 points a game, or he can hit home runs or whatever the fuck it is, you know what I mean? But, or he could tell a good joke, or he portrayed this character really well, you know what I mean? But that don't really necessarily just mean he's our leader just because, you know what I mean, the motherfuckers on screen, on TV. Come on, man. Like, we got real people out here that did some real things, and unfortunately, and this is honestly a prime example of what happens, the Ben Carson story. The Ben Carson story honestly should be one of those things that is touted in the black community, like, yo, look what this brother did. You know what I mean? We should, you know, really applaud this man. We should get behind it. We should actually see what he did well and try to copy that and probably instill some of that in our young men and our young boys or young women that are aspiring to get in the medical field. You know what I mean? but he is villainized because of his ties and his opinions. Obviously, you know what I mean? Like they can't separate the accomplishment from technically the man, you know what I mean? And that's a woeful thing that the black community does. It's almost like you have to line up in line with possibly some of the more ignorant aspects of the community. You have to get a pass. You got to get a hood pass from them, boy, in order to actually have your message spread. So you end up pandering to that particular group, and it makes your message a little bit more watered down because not many people can walk that line because either they lived that life and came out of it and now they look down on that life, or they lived that life, they still in that life and they speaking on behalf of that life, or they never lived that life and they talking about that life because they trying to identify with something that unfortunately us in more general is starting to turn. And I'll speak on the woke movement and all that kind of pro-black shit later. But even with that, you know what I mean, there's been more of a movement towards some more serious shit. You know what I mean? There's still ratchetness, there's still ignorance, but at least there is a movement and a progression because of education and different other opportunities and obviously different avenues of media that we're allowed to, you know, at least have voices in different communities, whether you agree or disagree. It is good to see brothers and sisters on TV, whether it's Fox News or CNN or MSNBC. Like I say, agree or disagree, it at least is good to see some of the boy faces up there. You know what I mean? You can critique on that other level as far as what they talking about. That's fine. But, you know, that's just a whole nother thing. And like I said, I ain't gonna go as far as to start calling people names and all that other shit. I don't agree with that kind of bullshit, but you're not gonna be a coon in my book. You're not gonna be my brother or sister either, but you know, you're a person that I'm trying to, you know what I mean, if you hear me or hear this message, try to convince to, you know, do some other shit or maybe think a different way. That's always the kind of case, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of social observers that come on YouTube and spit their opinions and talk about different things and pontificate on all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? And some are very eloquent, some are very entertaining, some are just, you know, kind of silly like mine, you know. I can't call it that. This shit is actually pretty dope, but who knows? Who knows? That's not for me to judge. But my whole point, once again, with this petty culture is that it leaves us behind where, you know, we're searching for the best meme as opposed to learning something new, something that you can teach your son or daughter, something that obviously you learn for yourself, a skill maybe that you can take and monetize. You know what I mean? Everybody definitely, you know, should monetize their hobbies, but you should also monetize other skills that, you know, you're just interested in or should have interest in, you know, because it should be more than one or two things. And if you're just focused on that one or two things, God bless you, continue doing that. Me, obviously, try to be more of a jack of all trades, which has its downsides and its upsides. It is what it is. That's just me. But I just feel like time should be better spent in that creativity, to be honest, because that shit do be funny as fuck now. Some of that shit do be like, wow. When the whole phrase that the internet is undefeated, that came from pretty much black Twitter and black social media, because them boys don't let shit go past, you know what I mean? Like, really. And the shit, like I said, sometimes it be funny, but the shit be petty and it's a waste of time, especially with some of the creative talents that they actually have. Like, instead of doing that, they could possibly put together something else. Or if they are going to be in that lane, be the best at it. You know what I mean? Like, constantly just drop shit. And some people do, you know what I mean? They possibly make money off of actually making memes and having that shit go viral with their little watermark on it. You know what I mean? So don't get me wrong. I ain't knocking nobody hustle or nothing like that. But if you could be petty, at least make a career out that shit. If you just being petty just to fuck other people's lives up because your shit ain't right, that's the problem I have. And that's really where that petty culture kind of gets into the way, because you're surrounded by it and it's just supposed to be funny and you think everything is cool and everybody accepts it. And then when you do the shit and it actually harms somebody, Then all of a sudden it's like, all right, whose story are you gonna take? Okay, you got a story, it might be made up about how this person did you wrong, so you had to do this and do that and the third, which you never have to do anything. Nobody makes you do anything. Even with a gun to your fucking head, you don't have to do anything. Just fucking die. Somebody put a gun to my head and tell me to suck a dick, just pull the trigger, nigga. Please, just go ahead and do that. You could do the shit anyway. Fuck it. You know what I mean? Like, nobody can force you to do what you don't want to do. That's why I hate that phrase, like, oh, somebody put a gun to your head, you do whatever. I'm like, man, please. Like, if you write with your spirit, I don't know why you're that afraid to die. You know what I mean? Like, let's be honest about that. And I know I'm working on my stuff, obviously, from a personal level, but I just had to digress on that real quick because that bothers me that so many people are afraid to die, and that means that so many people are, you know what I mean, living wrong. Why are you so afraid to die? You want this life to continue? If you see it from my perspective, you probably wouldn't think that this life is all that great outside of the beautiful things that, you know what I mean, we are able to experience and take in and appreciate. Because I appreciate life. I live life and I appreciate life. A lot of people live life and they think that means spending a lot of money on different shit. That is part of it. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's nothing wrong with, you know what I mean, having a good time and doing some great things or some fun things or some exotic things, but don't get that twisted with actually, you know what I mean, enjoying or appreciating life. Like, you don't need to do that. Waking up in the morning should be enough. I see now I'm starting to go on a tangent, and let me get back to the petty shit. But that's what I'm saying about that petty shit. Like, instead of being petty, just appreciate some of the shit that's going on. Some people will neglect their children just to be petty. Some people will fucking neglect their job just to be petty. Some people will fucking go to jail just to be petty. I don't understand this culture, man. And that's just supposed to be fun. I mean, because obviously somebody else's misfortune is somebody else's joke. Instead of it being more or less like a cautionary tale or a life lesson or a teachable moment, as Obama introduced us to that phrase. Like, instead of that shit, nah, we have to, in some essence, glorify the moment by making fun of it and making it seem like this is one way to get attention. Because that's what it all boils down to. And obviously, I'm on YouTube, so I'm trying to get attention. But it's because of the message, not necessarily because of flash and dance or, I hate using the word, but cooning. You know what I mean? Because we have our own culture, and that's fine. We can draw the line on some shit. We can identify what is what. But I just don't know where the serious side of this fucking culture can be and where it's at. And why that side isn't just... Now, that's maybe my main gripe or grief with that shit. You know what I mean? Or having grief with that shit is the fact that the shit is not accepted as widely in the community as it should be. That serious tone, that serious aspect to it. And a lot of people would argue because of the matriarchal system and men were out the homes. And I can agree with a lot of that kind of stuff, but I'm not going down that path right now. For whatever reason, and that, like I said, just mention it. It's just like nobody wants to be serious. And I'm not talking about just addressing smaller issues in the black community, those discussions need to be had. Because that's where it starts. And those coupled with other discussions on not just relationships, but finance and how, like I said, we would like to deal with, you know what I mean, our need for certain things, because most cultures, they'll try to address a need. Like, my whole thing and idea and opinion on that shit would be like, we need to look at it as the black whatever. You in it, you born in it, you want to be you a part of it. The black nation have our own little shit, and we need X amount of, doctors. We need X amount of engineers. We need X amount of, You know what I mean? Social workers. We need X amount of teachers. We need X amount of whatever. You know what I mean? And actually have that build the network that we need in order to actually succeed as far as on that financial level, because we do spend a lot of money, and we've known for years and years and years that we're not viewed as equal. Even though money is viewed as equal, it's still more or less like the European Americans figure that they can get more out of us for less for less resistance. You know what I mean? Some motherfuckers that are both sides, obviously, but more European American, like them boy, they know where their money going. They count pretty much every dollar. They shop around, and they do their due diligence with their money. You know what I mean? But in our culture, not even the petty part, but still it is kind of petty. Like, there's nothing wrong with jewelry, but a lot of jewelry. There's nothing wrong with a nice car, but a lot of nice cars. Nothing wrong with a good home. Nothing wrong even with a summer home, a second home, but just a ton of cribs. Now, obviously, I'm making references to the well-to-do amongst in the black community, but who knows, where their mindset is at, and who knows really what they're doing. So it's hard to, assess that situation. But I have in other videos, so, find your way and check that shit out. Damn. I found myself just talking and babbling for minutes and minutes on end. Music kind of cool though. Devil and the devil. But yeah, though, like I said, there's nothing wrong with entertainment. There's nothing wrong with a great joke, a good joke. Hell, even a bad joke. It's at least an attempt. You know what I mean? But the fact that pettiness has spilled over into real life, where the consequences, like I say, don't even come close to outweighing the satisfaction of being petty. Like, that's something that is perverse. That's something that is backwards as hell. That's something that needs to honestly be addressed and dealt with, which is why I'm talking about it. You know what I mean? Because there's no real need for a large group of people to be trying to be very petty. As a matter of fact, there was a video the other day I saw of this woman she was HIV positive, and she was proud of all of the, people that she gave it to. Like, for real, for real. Now that's pettiness at the extreme and maximum level, man. And this is what the fuck we're dealing with. And we're all in about other shit. I get that part, man, but we have to start addressing the serious tone on some shit, man. I mean, there has to be real consequences out here for certain actions. Motherfuckers is willing to shoot you over bullshit, but they won't shoot a European American for doing something that they deem as bullshit. I wonder why. And obviously there is street justice, and there is, you know what I mean, and I'm not advocating violence. I'm just actually making an observation with that last statement. But it is funny how that shit goes down. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, like I said, don't advocate violence, but there has to be some kind of consequences to real bad actions. You know what I mean? Real pettiness actions that spill over, and it does. And that's how violence in the community does happen. Somebody does something super petty, and somebody retaliates with violence. That's just how a lot of the situations that you hear about in the news and shit like that. Yeah, some of it's drug related, money related, and that, at least that shit is kind of understandable. It's money, you know what I mean? Motherfuckers will die over money. I don't know why that is either, but I know why, because people want to buy things, I guess. But whatever, I'm a minimalist kind of to a certain extent, so that's why I have that certain opinion. Just a little peek into that, but you know what I mean, like. I can't see why you should resort to. I mean, I can see why people resort to violence. My bad, I take that back. I can see why people resort to violence over petty actions. It takes a strong person, a strong man, or a strong woman to overlook, turn the other cheek on some super petty actions. You know what I mean? And I don't even have to describe or go into examples. Y'all know, y'all have seen them, y'all have heard stories. You know what I mean? Probably lived through it. Somebody did something extremely petty to you, and you retaliated, and it was just as petty, or it was probably violent. And you feel justified in it because that person, like I said, did something to you. And that's how that shit just continues to go on and on and on in our community. The petty culture. Just way too petty for anybody to really like take shit serious. If we took shit more serious, then that petty shit will be at a minimum. It will be more, like I said, just as a joke type of shit, in line with sarcasm, a part of a skit, a over dramatization of what really happens in, our community. But now, when of course, and I hate to see it, motherfuckers putting on wigs and acting like women, and pretending like they're in a relationship, or pretending like they're the girl in a relationship or whatever, to drive home a point and try to be funny. I get that, but once again, that's where that shit should lie. It should just be entertainment. It should just be funny. It should be actually, like I said, an over dramatization of it. It should just be over the top. It's funny because some of it is true, but it should be more funny because it's just like super silly. But instead, that shit actually don't even touch the surface of what motherfuckers really be doing out here. On some serious shit, like on some evil, like I'm intending to really do you harm over something small. My fries are cold. I'm going to shoot you. Hell, even that old fucking, hood shit where you step on my sneaker, I'm gonna shoot you. You know what I mean? Like bullshit like that, man. That shit just you said something about me. You have my name in your mouth. Oh gosh. Granted, nobody wants to be talked about, behind their back and stuff like that. But you have to understand that shit happens, good or bad. You would rather hope that it's good if somebody's talking without you present. But the shit's going to happen. Hell, you talk about people without them being present. That's what I'm saying. Like if people don't even hold themselves accountable for that action, if you don't restrain yourself from speaking on people without them being present, good or bad, whatever your rules are in life, then how you could get mad to the point to where you could do something to somebody, for talking about you. Now, if the talking about you was super petty and it got you, in a situation, obviously that's going to get you upset. That's going to get you mad. But it's always how you respond to any kind of situation. It's not about what a person did, it's how you respond to it. Easier said than done. I get that, but like I said, too many motherfuckers is out here like, I'm the baddest motherfucker. Ain't nobody could do this. Ain't nobody could do that. And I'm gonna show you better than I can tell you. Everybody want to be the baddest motherfucker out there, man. Just protect your own, man. That's a bad motherfucker in my mind. Just protect your own. If somebody really step and get out of line, like try to do you harm, try to steal your property, try to harm your family or something to that extent, some real serious keyword situations, then yeah, it should resort to violence. But if somebody talked about you and now you want to beat them up or shoot them, like, man, that's that feminine shit, man. That's that man-to-man type of shit. Like, bruh, like, I get it. Ain't nobody like being talked about, but goddamn, the background of your fucking picture to every fucking thing, just petty, super petty. Once again, part of the reason why I ain't even showing my face on this video, because motherfuckers is petty. And it ain't just because of that, obviously. But I did say it was vanity, and I already addressed that. But my point is that It's all about appearances. If you don't fit the right appearance, then number one, your message probably won't. Is